This is the SMARTRAVEL DK400 electric bike, the moto style 20x4 fat tire e-bike I've been riding for 8 months. From my experience, this thing nails the look and the flat ground speed, and it asks you to live with some heavy trade-offs. If you've seen the photos and thought, mini scrambler, that's exactly how it feels to ride on the right terrain. Key features that stood out to me before buying were the 48-volt 15-hour removable battery, the claimed 1,000-watt peak motor, dual suspension, the Shimano 7-speed, and the integrated lights with turn signals. My unit shipped with mechanical disc brakes, a phone holder, a pump, fenders, and a rear rack. Assembly was mostly straightforward but not plug-and-play. It arrived mostly built, and I still spent around an hour and a half cutting packing material, aligning the front wheel, truing the front rotor a hair to stop a rub, and dialing in the mechanical brakes. The instructions were basic, so if you're new, plan on watching a setup video or having a bike shop do a quick tune. Let me set expectations on power. The bike is marketed as a 1,000-watt peak, but the continuous power, the power it can hold for a while, feels closer to 750 to 850 watts. Quick explanation for newcomers. Peak is a short burst number you may only see for seconds, while nominal or continuous is the real day-to-day feel. On flat streets, the DK400 rips. With pedal assist, I easily hit the advertised 28+ mph. Throttle only tops out a bit lower for me, especially into a headwind, but it still feels quick and confident. There's a settings menu on the display where you can adjust speed limits and things like wheel size. I opened mine up to get full speed on private paths. Just be sure to follow your local rules. Hill performance is the weak point. In my opinion, that's the biggest thing you need to know. I weigh around 190 pounds with a backpack. On steeper grades, the motor runs out of grunt fast. I drop to the lower gears and pedal hard to keep momentum. It'll get me up, but it's a workout and not the effortless boost I expected from the aggressive styling. The bike shines as a flat ground cruiser. It's not a natural climber. If you live in a hilly area, this may frustrate you. Battery life has been solid and predictable. The 48-volt 15-amp-hour pack is removable and locks in cleanly under the tank panel. Charging from low to full takes me about 6 hours on the included charger. On throttle only, riding in the high 20s mph on level ground, I average roughly 20-23 miles. Using pass, pedal assist, where the motor helps as you pedal, cruising 15 to 20 miles per hour on flat city streets, I get right around 35 to 45 miles, depending on wind, temperature, and how often I stop. Cold weather trims a few miles. After 8 months and dozens of cycles, I haven't noticed big range fade. The waterproofing has been trustworthy. I've ridden in light rain with no drama, then wiped everything down afterward. The ride feel is comfortable. The front fork and rear shock smooth out potholes and brick streets better than a rigid frame. The fat tires are a big part of that comfort. They're 20x4 Kaoyang tires with chunky tread. I usually run 18 to 22 psi for a mix of comfort and efficiency. They're stable on gravel and sand, and they float over cracks. On pavement at speed, they hum noticeably, and rolling resistance is higher than a skinny tire, so you'll trade a bit of range for that planted feel. I got one puncture from a nasty roofing staple. The tires themselves aren't fragile, but I'd add tire liners or slime if flats are common in your area. Out of the box, I made a few changes. The stock rear shock on mine felt basic and a little bouncy over repetitive bumps. Swapping to a better aftermarket shock tightened up the ride right away. The stock headlight looks cool but didn't throw enough light for my late returns, so I upgraded to a brighter unit. The saddle is wide but firm. A gel cover made longer rides much nicer. One of my turn signals was finicky at first. Cleaning and reseating the connector fixed it. None of these were deal breakers, but in my opinion, they're worth budgeting for if you plan to ride often at night or on rough roads. Brakes on my bike are mechanical discs with motor cutoffs, which means the motor stops when you pull the levers. To me, that's a must for safety. Stopping power is fine for city use and the speeds this bike hits. On a long, steep downhill, the levers warmed up but didn't fade. If you live around sustained descents, consider better pads or an upgrade to hydraulics down the line. Keep the rotors clean and cables snug, and they do their job. Let's talk weight, because it matters. The DK400 is heavy. The spec lists around 68 pounds, and it feels every pound of that when you're not moving. Rolling it is easy, lifting it is not. Carrying it upstairs is a chore, and hanging it on wall racks is tricky. From my experience, storage is the real-life challenge here. If you have ground floor space or a garage, it's perfect. If you need to carry your bike often, this is where the romance fades. The flip side is the frame feels bomb-proof. and the 330-pound rated payload is legit. I've loaded the rear rack with groceries and a laptop bag, and the chassis never complained. Build quality on my unit has been sturdy overall, with a few quirks. The frame on mine is carbon steel, not aluminum, which lines up with the heavier weight. After a few rainy rides, some small bolts showed surface rust. I replaced the worst offenders with stainless. Spokes stayed tight with regular checks, and I retorqued the crank bolts once after a creak popped up. The chain likes lube every couple of weeks. The color LCD is bright and readable in sun, and the USB port has been handy for topping up my phone at lights. The included app was a letdown for me. Bluetooth was spotty, and the tracking only works when the bike is on and nearby, which isn't useful if it gets moved. I skipped the app and used the display. Daily use has been the best part. My commute is mostly flat city streets, about 6 miles each way. The DK400 makes it quick and fun. The acceleration off the line feels more like a small, quiet scooter than a traditional bicycle. The low seat and long bench let me shift around, and the bike gets attention at every stop. The removable battery is a clutch feature. I pop it out, charge at my desk or at home, and lock the bike with a heavy U-lock and a cable through the wheels. The fenders have kept me mostly dry, and the rear rack has turned grocery runs into a no-car errand. There are some spec mismatches floating around online. Some listings say aluminum frame, some promise hydraulic brakes, some claim different battery sizes. My real bike is carbon steel frame, mechanical discs, and 48-volt 15-amp-hour. The wattage listed as 720 watts on the product page lines up more closely with how it rides day to day than the splashy 1000-watt peak marketing line. Just know what you're actually getting from your seller. In my opinion, the DK400 is about vibe and flat ground fun. It looks awesome, it feels fast, and it rides comfortably over rough streets. It's perfect for style-minded commuters in relatively flat areas, campus riders, or anyone who wants that mini moto feel without dropping premium brand money. I'd recommend this for riders who value speed on flats, don't have to carry a bike upstairs, and don't mind doing a couple of smart upgrades, like a brighter headlight or a better rear shock. If you live around steep hills, if you need to lift your bike often, or if you want a light e-bike that sprints uphill on throttle alone, this probably isn't your match. The motor's torque and the overall heft just aren't tuned for that. From my experience, treating the DK400 as a fast urban cruiser makes it shine. In conclusion, the SMARTRAVEL DK400 gives you striking looks, legit flat ground speed, a comfortable ride, and a sturdy platform with a big payload, balanced by real downsides in hill climbs, weight, and a few budget parts. Tune it a little, keep the basics maintained, and it's a grin machine for city miles. If this video helped, hit subscribe and drop your questions or your own DK400 tips in the comments. Thank you for watching.